All right, welcome to another Friday night episode of Keto Rocks. I am Jim Hobbs, and next to me, which side he's on, is my carnivore co-host, Brian Damage Forsythe of the band Kix and Rhino Bucket, back from what looked to be a very successful OC Bike Fest tour for Kix. I mean, look, everybody on the beach, or everybody in Maryland was on the beach to watch you guys play that night. Wow. Wow. How did it look from the stage? Because the picture I saw looked like there was just a sea of people.
Well, it's crazy because, well, for us at least, I get there early and there's, before anything, before they open the gates or whatever. And you look out and it's just this big empty thing. And there was a handful of people that somehow were there early when I was checking my stuff. But yeah, then you leave and you come back later. And and I look out there and it's just like a sea of people. I'm like, wow. Like I knew it would be good because it always is down there. But in the past we've played there was like a tent that we were under that was open. So the crowd would spill out outside the tent, but you don't get the effect of how big that crowd is until you see it with nothing in the way. And it's just there. And it was very cool.
Yeah.
And the thing about this year too, it was it's full concert stage and they didn't have a whole lot of like people milling around backstage. So when we were on, it was just our we only have like a few crew people.
Right.
So it was just our guys on stage and the rest of it was clean and empty and nobody in the way. It was pretty cool.
That's awesome. Did they say how many people that were, how many people attended? Did they give an estimate?
You know what? I haven't heard.
Wow. Cause it looked,
I'd love to know.
Yeah, it was a lot. Like it was like, wow, that whole beach was covered. I mean, so they had the beach blocked off. Is that how, was that on the beach, right?
Yeah, it's in the parking lot next to the beach.
Okay.
So we were like we were facing parallel to the beach. The beach was over to my left.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, I was like, I don't know where all those cars parked. I mean, that was a sea of people.
That's a good question. Well, a lot of them were on motorcycles.
Well, that's true, but still, they got to park somewhere too.
Yeah, well, this is down at the end. So there's a big parking area too involved in this, but those were mostly motorcycles. I think maybe that parking lot was reserved just for motorcycles because I think they weren't letting cars down all the way to the end unless you were on a motorcycle.
Wow. Well, only thing I know is a sea of people. So, are you guys playing this week? The upcoming week? Where are you guys playing next?
Not this coming weekend. I have that off luckily, but the following week is that La Plata, Maryland, Southern Maryland. I guess it's considered Southern Maryland. Yeah. But we also did a show up in New Jersey. Like we did Ocean City on Wednesday and then New Jersey on Saturday.
How did that go? I saw you with some of our Keto Rocks people.
Oh yeah, that was interesting. No, it was actually a club that we had never played, and I didn't know what to expect, and I forgot. I must have known and just forgot that they had like an outdoor stage involved in this club. So so I guess there's an inside. I didn't even go inside, but I guess there's an inside bar stage, club,
right?
And then they have like this area out back that they put up a stage, and it's an open courtyard kind of deal, and so it was a much smaller scale than Ocean City. So it was a little like you come down to the normal size.
But it brought you down back to earth to your playing dives at bars after you just got through to a sea of people. So
yeah, but it was still good. I mean, it was really good crowd and they were into it because you never know what to expect in New Jersey.
Right.
Like it's hit or miss there. Like we've played theaters where, I mean, it's a nice crowd, but they just sort of, you're like, do they even know who we are? Or it's like kind of weird,
They're staring at you going, okay, I'm trying to figure out the words. What song are they playing? Well, I'm glad. I mean, that turnout had to make you guys feel good. I mean, seriously, I was so proud of you guys for you to see that sea of people come out for a Kicks show. So it had to be really cool looking out
Yeah.
at people.
Well, apparently, because that goes on through the weekend, and apparently they had a good turnout the whole time. And it's weird that, we were on a Wednesday. You would think it would be a little more sparse on a Wednesday, but it
Right.
it didn't seem to be.
Wow. Well, that's awesome. So tell everybody what you had to eat when you're in Ocean City. So did you find a Five Guys or did you find a diner?
Oh,
What you go to?
no, it was Five Guys. I mean, I would, it's hard to find. I'm always looking around. Like when we're in Dewey Beach, I kind of know where there's a couple places. Ocean City, it seems like the diners are always out on the outskirts or out a little bit out of town.
Right.
And yeah, so I just kind of did a search, and I was kind of in a hurry. I didn't want to like have to go search out something and deal with traffic, and not that there was a whole lot on Wednesday, but I Googled Five Guys and there was one right up the road. So I went, that's perfect.
Perfect. Gotcha. Five
And
Guys.
and they were um providing meals for this gig, but not like in the past they had catering. And this time they were just offering like a menu you could order off of. And it's like I didn't know what that was going to be. So I thought, well, I better cover myself before I get there because I don't want to find out I got to order from some pizza sub shop or something.
Totally understand that. So let's talk about great concerts, great shows. You're off a week, get a chance to recharge. So I know you are a follower of many of keto carnivore advocates like Dr. Barry and a lot of others. So what have you been reading out there in the keto carnivore world or low carb world? Um, what's what have you been reading out there that people could
Uh,
benefit?
well, I was talking to you about this before we started, but yeah, every day I get notifications from Twitter in my email, and I'll open it. It'll be like a Dr. Barry Twitter tweet or something, and I'll click on the email, and it opens up the page. But there'll be Dr. Barry, then there'll be what's the other guy, Frank Lipman, Amy Berger, all the people that I follow, Nina Teicholz, and so I go down the line and click on each one of their tweets, and a lot of them, they're doctors and stuff, so and researchers, so they always have links to new articles that have come out, and I do this every day, so there's so many things I've read that I can't even like sort it out in my mind right now. But I did post a few of them on my Facebook page, and one of them was the glyphosate, how it's I mean I've already known this, but it's in everything, like all the food we eat, and the worst offenders are the ones that contain wheat and soy, the stuff that's grown, monocrops that we grow that they spray with that stuff. And which is sad because kids eat all that crap, all the cereal, and there's some new study that they found that it gets into it's in the food, so you ingest it, and then it can cross the blood-brain barrier in your brain and get into your brain, and it creates havoc up there. And they
So
they
is that like the genesis to Alzheimer's and to dementia?
yeah, it's a big contributing factor now, they found. Because yeah, they remember they were saying something about plaques and all this stuff, and they had some drug that's supposed to, and then they found out that had nothing to do with it, but it wasn't the kind of plaques that they were talking about. And this thing creates some other kind that it's like this chemical just causes so many weird changes in your brain structure. So now they're thinking this is one of the major leading factors to the Alzheimer's epidemic, and dementia is just a version of Alzheimer's. So, it's all related, and it almost seems so common now. Like when you get old, that's just what you get. And it shouldn't be like that.
Yeah, I was reading somebody, I don't remember who I was just reading the last couple of days, It was an article, and we talk about this all the time. It was saying, don't let age determine how you feel. And the reality of it is, when you live a clean, healthy lifestyle, um, you don't have the inflammation or the issues that most people who are eating a highly processed diet. And look, let's just face it, it is hard to walk into a store or to a restaurant here in the United States of America and find anything that's not highly processed. Everything is meant to have a long shelf life, and you can't even trust the fruits and vegetables that you buy at a Wegmans or at a regular store, because I'll give you an example. I had the hunkering blueberry for blueberries, so I bought some blueberries. They were on sale, so I picked them up. I put them in the fridge, forgot about them. They were stuck in the back. Those blueberries have been there for, I want to say, probably 2 months, Brian. 2 months. You would think they would shrivel up, be dripping. They still like they don't look much different than they did 2 months ago. So I just dumped them all in the trash, and I told Peggy, I said, there is no way these are not chemically or generic GMO, genetically modified uh, fruits, because we're berries, because there's no way a berry should just be able to be what it is for two months off its stem, off of its life source. So it really is.
That is weird.
Yeah, it is weird. So you're sharing light or shedding light on this herbicide that's put in everything, and you think about what's going on with kids, and I'm thinking, does that contribute also to ADHD? I mean, and these other,
Probably.
right, because
Well, that's sugar. That's just the side effect of sugar.
yeah, but maybe it's opening up the conduit in their brain for, I mean, who knows if it's impacting people, or it's also giving them, like, dementia or Alzheimer's. It's just, it really is concerning. And we were talking before we started the program about, you really can't have to trust where your food comes from unless you know exactly where it comes from. And that's why supporting local farms, like the farms that you go to get your eggs and your butter, you know where that comes from. You see the food that and see the farm and know the people where it's coming from. But when we buy something
I've,
gross,
and I've actually met the ducks.
yeah, yeah. So you know exactly where those eggs are coming from. But when we buy stuff from the store, we don't know where it's coming from. We don't know how it was treated. We don't know. We have to just go by the labels. And Brian and I was talking off or before the episode that, there used to be stringent guidelines to be able to use the designation organic foods, and they had to, I mean, they had to have no pesticides and on a field for 5 years before they could plant their crop and to be able to sell that crop as organic, non-GMO fruits or vegetable or crop. But you can walk in a store now, and it's almost like it was a year ago, where you can walk in. I'll just use Costco for an example. They have rows now of keto endorsed food, but it's not true. It's so much processed food, and it's, if you turn the package over to the label will say 20 grams of carbohydrates, but they use their net carbs and fiber and whatever else they put into it to say that it's only got net 5 carbs of per serving. And then you just think, okay, well, what's per serving? And it could be just maybe 2 crackers, and those 2 crackers, and you're normally
Right.
20 crackers. So there.
That's what yeah, they get you on that serving thing. You got to be really careful about that. It'll be a tiny little bag of something, and then you read 5 servings, and it's like that. So you got to multiply all those numbers, but those numbers mean nothing really. I mean, it's all marketing, and they've, as it goes along, they figure out more and more loopholes, how to hide things. They have the natural flavors, and that could mean anything. There's so many things hidden under that label, but they're allowed to use it for a certain amount of, if their ingredient goes below a certain
Level, a percentage. a percentage.
Yeah.
Like cane sugar. Cane sugar is a natural sweetener. So you may be going, oh, this is good for me. And it's probably better than if you're eating well, I mean sugar all comes from cane, but they some of the chemical variations like the sucralose and all the other variations they have of sugar that they use in ingredients, but everything is highly processed. And so unless you're just doing like Brian or on the majority of the time, Peggy and I are just eating like today in the sous vide is ribeyes, sous vide, and then I'm going to throw them on the smoker to finish them. And I got blue cheese crumbles to put on top, some grass fed butter, and I'm going to be a very happy camper as soon as our show ends here. That is what I'm going to go devour and enjoy. But anything outside of that, Brian, I was talking also, I know, was the fact that outside of just eating one ingredient food, whether it's eggs or burger or steak, you're really taking a chance on what you're ingesting because you really don't know. And then the study that Brian's sharing with us, and to think that kids at school are eating the nutritional dietary suggestions of Fruit Loops and honey wheats, and this stuff is on those crops that are be putting in that cereal box that's going into your child's body, and the impact that it's having on the body negatively, both emotional and probably probably contributes to how you retain information and just the learning process. But
Yeah.
it go ahead, Brian. Go
No,
ahead.
I was just gonna say it's just like well, most people are uneducated in this area and they just take the food label's word for it, just because something you can eat something and you don't get sick right there then and there from it doesn't mean that it's poisoning you, and it takes this kind of thing. It just takes the buildup in your body over the years. And I don't know where I'm going with this, except for you don't know until it's too late. And
Well, well, here's the other thing. I don't mean to cut you off, Brian, but here's the other thing. I understand why the masses, the public, is confused, because I went on, and you can just do a search yourself, give me the latest information on low carb and all that, and it will bring up a sea of pages that are paid for by either big pharma or big food, because it'll be a bunch of negative information about low carb, high fat leads to cardiovascular disease and all this stuff that for those who live that lifestyle, that not to be true. You don't know that because someone told you. You know that because you've experienced the results by living a carnivore lifestyle. When you hear from Rob or, oh gosh, I'm trying to think, Carl, or Brian, and they're truly having the energy and the success they're having by eating meat, by living a carnivore lifestyle. You don't care what's out there, but if you're like Brian just said, if you don't take the time, and it's more than just educating yourself, you're actually going to have to go out there and live it out yourself, because until you experience those benefits of being a low carb, high protein, or high fat diet, where you get over that thought form that eating fat from a steak is going to cause you to have high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and you're going to die of a heart attack, until you get that out of your head and you experience what is the opposite. Now, know this, when you start mixing, because I know a lot of people do that too. They have their foot, they still have their foot in their pool, in the sugar pool, and they have the other foot in that they're doing low carb lunch. And therefore I'm doing keto. But if you're mixing the fats with those sugars, not a good combination. When you mix the carbs with the fats, that can cause you health problems. And so, don't do that to yourself. Either jump in the deep pool and try it for 30 days, because I think you would be able to notice the difference in those 30 days. I think you notice the difference sooner than that, but I think 30 days, you'd be
that
able
took me 2 weeks.
but was that going keto, or was that going straight to carnivore?
No, actually, well, keto was a long
Gradual,
transition from,
yeah.
yeah. But when I went carnivore, um, actually carnivore within a week, I felt it right away. Like in the first few days, I felt the difference. And it was, I think I've shared that before. It was like, as soon as the first steak that I ate after whatever, 25, 30 years, I it was like, what was I thinking? Like I could just feel it, like that's what I was supposed to eat. But yeah, within the 2 week mark, that's when like my workouts kicked into overdrive, and like everything just sort of, all the stars aligned, and I could feel it in my inside my body. And and like for somebody that's first starting out, you do get that right away, that wow feeling, and then there'll be this lag. Like for me, it sort of sagged a few months in, and I'm like, man, what's going on? And I remember being on one of those Dr. Barry's got the Patreon
Right.
Zoom meetings on Thursdays, where you can actually submit, ask him a question, and he'll converse with you one on one. And I asked him about that, and he made some suggestions. Well, I did up my electrolytes a little bit, although I was already doing that, but I think I wasn't eating enough. So I had to bump up my protein because I was working out, and I just wasn't giving myself enough fuel. So that's what I'm saying is that you're always tweaking it as you go along. You have to sort of make adjustments to sort of fix things. But yeah, what was the initial? I forget why we even started on this conversation. But yeah, I did notice a difference, like quick. It was very quick.
Well, you know, I think I was telling you off the air. Sundays, I mean, fall is my favorite time of year. So, I mean, right now it's
Me
just
too.
beautiful. It is absolutely gorgeous here in Virginia. I mean, it's the light breeze. It's probably in the 60s. Um, it's just an absolutely beautiful day. Sunday was kind of the same way, but in my DNA, I can't watch football without eating pizza or chicken wings, and so thank and what I know there's a joke in there. Go ahead and share it, Brian.
No, you're saying I can't watch football without eating for me, I can't watch football.
I know.
It ends there for
I
me.
hear that. I hear that in your head. So I knew you were saying that. That's why I heard it in my head, even though I couldn't hear it on the speakers. So for me, I was like, it's just so ingrained in me. So actually Shannon's friend that we had on, who out of Florida, that her coworker sent me that recipe of keto pizza. And I have to tell her, man, thank you for sending that, because I've tried all the other recipes. This is by far the best keto pizza I've ever had. And it comes with, you're able to make it with zero carbs crust. And for those who may want that, just send me a private message. It's on my Facebook page if you want to go and check it out. But literally, I'll give you a quick down and dirty. You just take 6 ounces of Colby cheese, 2 ounces of mozzarella cheese, mix up 2 eggs, mix that all up, and then add some seasoning. Now, I did Italian seasoning, but you can do basil, garlic, onion, red pepper flakes. Put that on parchment paper. Put parchment paper down first in your pizza pan. Spread that, what's really your dough, but it's just an egg and cheese concoction. You're going to spread it out really thin, and you're going to get it to it's not going to look anything like a crust. But when you put that in the oven at 350 for 15 minutes, when you pull it out, it's going to look like a pizza crust. And so when you pull that out of the oven 15 minutes later, you're going to put another layer of parchment paper on top, put another pizza pan on top, flip it, and then you can add, and there's keto sauces out there. You can do it with, you can also make your own with cream cheese. But put your green peppers and onions on top, put bacon, sausage, pepperoni. I didn't put pepperoni this time. I just went with sausage and bacon and some more mozzarella Parmesan cheese. And I'm telling you, you put that in for 10 to 15 minutes, pull it out, let it cool down, cut it into slices, and it literally lets you experience a true pizza that you can hold in your hand while enjoying a football game. Or for Brian, enjoying a post by Dr. Barry. But I'm telling you, I want to thank her for that. And if you guys are like pizza and you're like, well, yeah, but I like pizza, so I'm going to have a cheat day. You don't need to cheat. Just go ahead and follow that recipe that I just walked you through. And I think you thoroughly will enjoy being able to watch a game and enjoy good pizza. But enough of that. Brian, what is your favorite? Now, you've been going to Five Guys a lot lately, and you used to, I mean, a lot. So when's the last time you made ribs? Ribs on the Traeger?
Not too long ago.
Did you?
Within like the last month or so, I think.
Okay. How about brisket?
Same.
Okay.
And pulled pork as well. But yeah, the last ribs I made, my favorite are short ribs, but the last ribs that I did were I think they were beef. No, I did one of each. I did a pork and a beef and a pork rib on there.
And so when what spices or what rub do you put on your ribs?
Oh, it depends. The beef I used, I just used the straight. I usually use the Redmond garlic pepper blend as a base, and it's just there's salt, pepper, garlic, and onion. It's like real basic. That's what I usually use for beef, and then actually I have another version. Let me show you.
Sure.
I discovered this because I'm so dedicated to Redmond brand. But I found this too, this peppercorn steak rub, and it's Harry and David, which they make a bunch of crap that people put in gift baskets. But this came with something, I forget. And it has nothing weird in it. It's the same as like the Redmond. It's a little bit coarser of a grind, and it's got a little bit more pepper in it. So that's what I use for my briskets. But for the pork ribs, I use the Redmond. I keep the big shaker bottles of that garlic pepper, and I make my own version, like different. Like I have the straight garlic pepper blend, and then I'll put one that's just got some smoked paprika in it, and then for my pork ribs, I put. And for the pulled pork, I put smoked paprika and chili powder. So those are the two things I'll add to it. So I keep it pretty basic, in other words.
Well, and then do you use any type of like a sauce afterwards, or you put a sauce afterwards, or no?
I do. I use
Go ahead. Yep.
if I can find it. It's not it. That's it. I got it.
Is that primal? Is it Primal Kitchen is what you use for sauces?
Yeah, Primal Kitchen, classic barbecue sauce, unsweetened, but actually I don't use it straight. I take that and I make my own. I add apple cider vinegar and a little bit of the liquid smoke to it, and some Swerve brown sugar.
There you go. I throw Swerve in ours too. So, and then you
just to make my own, just to sort of make my own thing out of it.
Now, do you just brush it on after you pull it off the Traeger? You just or do you brush it on and put it in like 30 minutes?
I have it in a squirt bottle, so I'll like 15 minutes before I wrap it, I'll squirt it, and then I'll let that soak in, and then when I go to wrap it, I'll squirt some in the paper, lay it down in there, and then squirt some, and then wrap it.
So
that's pretty much it.
Okay, so you do put the sauce and then you wrap it with the sauce already on it.
Yeah.
All right. So you've done the ribs, you've done brisket. The question is the tongue still taking up real estate in the freezer?
Yes. I just can't get around to that tongue. I don't know what's wrong with me.
we I think we should just put it up for auction and see the highest bidder buy Brian's tongue, and because it's been sitting there, I think now for over 2 years. Has it not been in there for 2 years? It's frozen tongue by now,
Yeah.
for sure.
Oh, it's been frozen the whole time.
Yeah.
It came frozen.
So I say, hey, if you guys are watching this, put in the comments section whether or not Brian should auction the tongue off, or should we do a when's he going to cook the tongue, like guessing the date type of deal, and which year is it going to finally leave the freezer and go into the grill. So just
Well, I've watched so many tongue cooking videos, and I'll watch them and then I go, okay, well, maybe I'll try, and then I just put it off longer and longer, and then I don't know, it's hard. And like now that Shannon's around, like I'm always cooking 2 meals every day, so it's like and she might be interested in the tongue, but because I think she says she's had tongue and she liked it, so maybe I don't know.
I truly did like it until, and this is all mental, so I'd have to get over it. It was just after Peggy made me aware of what I was eating and those taste buds, and I could actually feel that on the whatever the tongue had.
I think they peel that off though.
Well,
You have to peel the taste buds off of there.
listen. I said, well, I said it was mental. I felt like I was feeling that on my tongue. So, like I said, it was definitely mental, because up until that point, I was just going to town devouring it. It was like pork belly to me. It was very tasteful and full of fat and flavor. So, it wasn't until I was told what it was that I started to have which is unusual for me, because that usually doesn't bother me, but it did bother me. I have to be honest with you. It bothered me a little bit. So, well, Brian, what do you got? Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say the other thing I've been getting into lately. I'll show you. I got it right here. I've been making kefir, or however you say it.
Yeah. Wow.
I got the kefir or kefir. I don't know how you say it. Grains.
So
And
they are I want to say percolating, but that's not the word. They are
fermenting.
Fermenting. That's the word I was looking for. Thank you. Yes, fermenting. Now, how long?
So you only let it go like maybe say 24 hours or so. But I still haven't found a source for raw dairy around here, which is frustrating, because you would think, well, it's against the law in Tennessee to sell raw dairy. So you got to
buy a share. You have to buy a share of a cow or a goat.
Yeah, and there's some website I went to where you have to register, and then they send you a secret link, and they have not gotten back to me. And I did find there was one up in Kentucky, like to the northwest of here, but it's like an hour drive, and I got to set up a time to get it. I mean, I haven't actually made the call, but
well, sounds like a drug deal.
Yeah, and it's just like it'll take up it's going to take a chunk out of a day. I'll have to reserve a day to go deal with it. It's frustrating that you just can't go find some raw goat milk somewhere. But anyway.
Well, you haven't found a place that you could buy shares there locally where you live? I mean, there's not a place more closer to you than an hour out?
Well, I've found cow dairy, but I'm looking for this stuff. I think I prefer using raw goat milk. But I'm not sure how the shares work. Like, is it like a subscription thing where you have it every week thing? Because I don't know if I could use that much. It's like I only need it here and there.
I think it depends on what the amount of shares that you're getting. And you can also, if you can say, hey, I'm going to pick it up once a week or once every 2 weeks or once a month. And I think if you let's just say you were getting four quarts a week, you could donate those other 3 quarts to, hey, donate that to a food pantry or whatever to give away, or to somebody else to pick up. I think you could do that. But I got to do the same thing. There's a farm probably within a mile of our house that it's got to sign up for shares, and I keep meaning to stop by and see and signing up to do that, because we want to do the same thing because of the whole heavy whipping cream kind of deal. So
yeah. Oh, speaking of, let me show you this. The viewers are getting a bonus today. I'm sure I did an experiment with heavy cream, but this isn't raw either. So it's not the same when it's not raw. But I did the fermenting thing with this, and look how it turned out. Check this out. It's like yogurt.
wow, it sure is.
And it tastes like Greek yogurt. It's so good though.
Now, why don't you just give everybody a rundown exactly how the process to make that?
Well, I had to get the kefir grains. I wasn't sure how to do it. I had to do some research, and I guess they make a powdered version that a lot of the commercial kefir that you would buy in a market,
right?
They use the powdered version, which will ferment it, but it's not the same. It's not the actual thing. It's not going through the real process,
right?
So it's like a commercial version. So anyway, I found someone on Etsy that was selling these, and it was from a local farm here in Tennessee somewhere. I forget where it was, but it wasn't close enough where I could go pick it up. But anyway, they mail it to you, and they I guess they put it in a little bit of milk inside the little packaging,
right.
So it keeps it alive.
Right.
And it's alive. It's a living thing.
Enzyme,
and,
yeah.
Yeah. So I bought maybe a tablespoon or two, maybe 2 tablespoons, and then now it's grown. It's like a little pile. It's like about a quarter cup. So every time I use it, and that's what it does. It by the fermenting process, it's consuming the sugar,
right,
the lactose in there. So it's eliminating all the sugar from it. So it just makes you healthier, and it's supposed to be good for your guts and all that.
Yeah, we used to make it. We used to, not that. Well, we have done that too, but we used to do. Gosh, I'm forgetting the name, but we had a SCOBY that we did the same thing, that you put tea in to make. Gosh, I can't believe I'm forgetting what.
Kombucha.
Yes, thank you so much, Brian. Yes, yeah, kombucha. Yeah, we make kombucha. Yeah, we would buy one of those big things you buy at Costco, where you see it like at the Marriott, that's got water and lemons all in it. And this SCOBY grew, and we would make it. Of course, it eats all the sugar. Then we would actually bottle it ourselves. We ordered a whole bunch of bottles that had the top that last, that you can wash and reuse. And we did that for the longest time. And it really, nature's so cool to observe and to see how if one process leads to another process that leads to something that you're going to ingest that can bring health to you, living enzymes that you're devouring for your good.
And it's crazy because, like, say a milk like this is just goat milk from the store, so it's been pasteurized, which kills off all the good stuff. That's why I want raw, because I want all that in there too. But you would think milk would spoil. You put this, you just leave it sitting out for 24 hours. And I even, one of the last batch of the heavy cream that I did, I stuck it out on my porch overnight because it's still warm outside.
Right.
And it just sat out there. And then in the morning I got up and I'm like, oh, I forgot to bring that in. So I run out there and it's sitting in the sun, but you think it would spoil, but it doesn't.
Yeah. It's amazing how we're just programmed to believe, because everything's got to be refrigerated, like eggs. I mean, eggs, you know, we're the farm, they're sitting on our front porch on a basket outside, never in the refrigerator. So you just go out there and pick them. People go, you don't put your eggs in the refrigerator? Like, no, you don't need to. But you know,
Especially if they're not, well, if you're getting them fresh and they're not washed.
yeah,
Yeah.
they haven't. Well, yeah, because when you wash them, they have their life expectancy kind of goes to 2 weeks, and so you want to put them in the fridge then. But we just leave them outside and use them as needed. But you know, that's the thing. When you get so removed from nature, you don't realize the processes that literally take place that you get a chance to be a part of, like you're doing right now. To me, that's so cool to be a part of nature, the process of life, to bring life to it. So it's just, I think it's awesome. I think there's something that's rewarding is a bad word, but something that's this makes you feel like you're part of the process of life, and to be able to participate. You're a participant, and you know, to see that and to witness that firsthand, and then to be able to honor it by actually devouring it yourself, ingesting it. It's just full circle. So I think it's a cool thing to do. People should be doing. Another cool thing that I think people could do, and I'll let Brian answer this question, in addition to doing what he's doing now, but there's something else that he does that actually he talked about it a little bit earlier, about bringing energy and vitality and overall health to him. But if someone's watched the show this far along, Brian, what bit of advice would you give somebody? What would you tell them to go do?
I would say go eat your meat.
And I would second that. And that's exactly what I'm going to do as soon as I hit the stop recording button. Oh, Brian's going to break out a ribeye on me.
This was on sale.
Oh, the Tomahawk. Oh, that's a big one. Now that's bigger than the last one.
Maybe, but there was one that was even bigger in the meat case, but I picked the medium sized one because I know that the other one, oh man, it was probably a good 6 inches thick.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's too. I couldn't do that one. That's a big one. It's funny. I was at the at Publix. They opened up a Publix in Stafford, so I was in a business meeting, so I figured I'd stop by and check out the meat deals. And they had a couple of tomahawks, and I always think of Brian when I see the tomahawks, but these were small. Like, I'm not even sure you could call them a tomahawk. They may just be a hammer. They didn't look but they were called tomahawks. And they were selling, I think, for $16.99 a pound or whatever on sale. But
yeah, this was on sale for $11.99.
Yeah, that's a good deal. Kroger is that Kroger? Purchase at Kroger?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, that ends tonight's show. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Brian, have a great week off, and we'll look forward to seeing everybody next Friday at the same time, same place. And in the interim, stay safe, stay well, stay kind, and stay out of that hospital, everybody. We'll see you.
See ya.